Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to my channel, Quran Study Circle, quiz on the biography of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to increase our knowledge of Islam in the light of Holy Quran and examples from the Prophet's life. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel, Quran Study Circle. Let us continue to the quiz questions one by one. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the greatest role model for a new millennium. He is the example or excellence who brought the final revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to mankind. He is the last of the prophets, the greatest man in the history. Now let us start the quiz. Question number 56. Who was the first person from Medina who embraced Islam? Answer is Ayaz bin Maaz radiyallahu ta'ala. 57. Which is the first pact of Aqaba? What's its content? The Hajj pilgrim deputation came from Medina, met Prophet, peace be upon him, at Mecca and recognized him, just as the Jewish rabbis described them at Medina, and they swore allegiance to him. This is in fact is known as the first pact of Aqaba. The Prophet sent a teacher, Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu ta'ala anhu, to teach them the basics of Islam. 58. What is the second pact of Aqaba? When it took place? In the following next year at the time of pilgrimage, 73 Muslims from Medina came and vowed allegiance to the Prophet and invited him to their city Medina. This is known as second pact of Aqaba. 59. When did the Prophet plan to migrate to Medina? Soon after he got permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when the Quraysh leaders planned to kill him. 60. Before migration, whom did the Prophet entrust the task of returning the money, that is amanat, and other belongings to the people that they had deposited with him during stay at Mecca? Prophet entrusted the task of returning the money to Ali ibn Abu Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu before his departure from Mecca or migrating to Medina. 61. Who used to supply food to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu when they were hiding in a cave, cave Thor, on their way to Medina for 3 days? It was Asma bint Abu Bakr, daughter of Hazrat Abu Bakr, who supplied them food for 3 days. 62. For how many years did the Prophet, peace be upon him, preach Islam at Medina? He preached Islam at Medina for 13 years. This is in spite of humiliation and persecution by non-believers at Mecca. 63. Immigration to Yathrib or Medina. Migration from Mecca to Medina took place in which year? It took place in the year 622 AD. That is 20th June 622 AD. It is known as Hijrat. 64. In which surah the Hijrah of the Prophet is mentioned? Surah Anfal, it is mentioned. 65. What was the importance of Hijrah in Islam? What are the differences in the revelations before and after Hijrah? Hijrah marks the beginning of new Islamic calendar or Muslim era for this Islamic State, and a turning point in the mission of the Prophet. The kind of guidance received by Prophet and companions needed was not the same as that which they had before. Madani surahs differ therefore from the Makkan surahs. The Makkan surahs give guidance to the individual soul and to the Prophet as a warner, whereas the Madani surahs give guidance to a growing social and political community and to the Prophet as an exemplar, lawgiver and a reformer. 66. Where did the Prophet camel stop at Pbuh? That is at the outskirts of Medina, on his arrival, and how many days he stayed there? The Prophet's camel stopped at Pbuh in front of the house of Kulsum bin Hadam Abu Ayyub Ansari. The camel stopped. The Prophet stayed in the house of Abu Ansari for about 7 months and built adjacent to it an hutment for his family and built a masjid. 67. The Prophet worked himself as a laborer during this construction of masjid at Pbuh. Name the masjid. Masjid Pbuh, the masjid built on the foundation of piety and taqwa, that is Surah Tawbah given in Quran 108 ayah. 68. At Pbuh, Prophet prayed for 16 months towards Jerusalem, that is Baitul Muqaddas. When did the Prophet ordered the Prophet? When did Allah ordered the Prophet to change the Qibla from Baitul Muqaddas to Baitul Haram, that is Kabatullah? On 15th Shaban, 2nd Hijrah, that is Sunday, after receiving revelation during middle of the Asr Salah. 69. How did Prophet get the land for construction of Masjid Nabawi? He purchased the land from the two orphans, Sahl and Suhail. 70. Who were the forces working against Islam in Medina? The hypocrites and the Jews were the bitter enemies of Islam who were working against Islam in Medina. 71. What was the first concern or task of the Prophet at Medina? He began public congregational prayers and laid down a strong foundation for the first constitution of the Islamic State and established the world's first socialistic democratic government, including all the people of Medina. He made agreements to defend Medina in case of enemy attacks and trained the companions to defend themselves and resist in case of enemy attacks. 72. Battle of Badr, 2H after Hijr. In which year, according to Hijr, was the Battle of Badr fought? How many companions fought in the Battle of Badr against an army of 1,000 Quraysh of Mecca? And who won the battle? In the year 2000, in the year 2AH, after Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu, a well-equipped army of more than 1,000 Quraysh of Mecca fought against ill-equipped 313 Muslims. Muslims won the battle. '73. O Allah, if these few people are defeated today, there will be no one to worship you till the doomsday. When were these words uttered by Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu on the day of Battle of Badr? 74. By whose head cloth the Islamic flag was made during the Battle of Badr? Answer: Aisha bint Abu Bakr head's cloth. 75. Which battle? After the Battle of Badr, about 70 men of Makkah were captured and taken as prisoners and set free on two conditions. What are those conditions? To pay money or to teach how to read and write. The very poor ones released without ransom on condition that they promise not to fight against Muslims in future. 76. Battle of Uhud in 3H. During Battle of Uhud, an army of 3,000 Meccan polytheists came to destroy Medina under the leadership of Abu Sufyan to avenge the Battle of Badr.